Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway, we're at the servicing table today, and it's time for another teardown video. Now, obviously this is the DJ Models J94, and during my review for this loco, I wasn't too positive about it, let's say. In fact, it's one of the few reviews I've ever done that did end up with a negative result. And during the review, I made quite a few claims about the performance of the J94. I was saying, it doesn't run very well and such. And basically where those claims came from is when she first arrived, she didn't run very well, as in fact she didn't in the review. And I decided that, to be honest, the likelihood is that she's been sat in the shop for months, maybe even years. And in all likelihood, she probably just needs a little bit of a service. And that's exactly what I decided to do. Now, obviously, I'm quite mechanically minded and I'm quite interested by these things, so what I decided to do was take the thing to bits and take a look at the mechanism, take a look at the motor, and to my shock and surprise, I wasn't able to. Now, obviously, I have serviced and done repairs on models for a couple of years now as part of my business. And I've never been able to, I've never been absolutely thwarted by a model to the point where I wasn't even able to see the motor. So obviously that wasn't too pleasing to me, and still to this day I've never been able to get into it. So today I'm going to do a teardown video and I'm going to see if I can change that, but obviously I need the power of information in order to hopefully be able to get into this thing. So what I did was I looked at the instructions, which I did the first time, but the instructions weren't very helpful in showing how the thing comes to pieces. So of course I do what everybody does and I took to the internet and I actually went to the DJ Models maintenance and servicing page. And to be honest, I've had to come away from there because I was getting a bit triggered by it all, to be honest. It really wasn't too impressive. So I'm going to show it you on the screen. I've got a printout of the site just to jog my memory. Anyway, I'll show you the site. So all of the spares and maintenance for the DJ Models stuff is on the one page on his website. It hasn't been separated up, so you've got to scroll through. Which is annoying in itself, and eventually you come to the DJM J94. Now, really what I was looking for here was a video, right? A video is going to be the best way to explain it. Now, don't get me wrong, there was a video. Here it is. In fact, let me show you what the video involved. Right, so the video was this. Are you ready for this? Ready? Okay, start the video. End the video. That's all the video showed. It shows you how to take the smoke box door off like that, and I'm actually going to leave that off because, it's going to be in the way. It's one of the simplest things about this model, and yet that's the only thing that got its own video, except on my version of the video you could see what was going on. In the DJ Models version, all you see is the back of some guy's hand, so you really don't get too much help there. But no, there's no video or anything about the actual deconstruction of the model, the actual tearing down of the model. But what there is a list of exploded diagrams. There's the instructions and maintenance there, and then there's the exploded diagrams. But unfortunately, the word exploded there has been taken a little too literally. This is the exploded diagram. It literally has been exploded. It looks like someone's placed a charge inside the model and blown it up. You really can't just glance at that and see which part goes where and see how it all goes together. In my opinion, this is a better example of an exploded diagram. You can quite clearly see how it all goes together. This is a much smaller engine, a little 060 tank engine, and yet look at the complexity there. Now, as you can see, it is all numbered. Every part has got a number there, but there's no key. None of these 4 links include a key to tell you what all of those parts are. So effectively, it's just an unlabeled diagram. So the exploded diagrams are no good. But then we get on to some actual images. Now, there's no title or anything for these images, it just kind of starts. And you see here that the body has been taken off the loco, so you think, great. So the instruction here is hold and twist the cab for releasing the 2 clips. Now, those images aren't great, it really doesn't show you how to do that, but I'd give that a try. I grabbed the cab and did a little bit of twisting. I don't know whether you twist it left, right, backwards, forwards, up or down. It's not made clear, but I did a bit of twisting and that didn't help. But then you get the next instruction which says remove the screw in the chimney and the two ones under the bunker. I would have thought you needed to do that before you grab and twist, but I don't know, that's very strange. And then it says lift the boiler and cab. So is this a separate instruction? Do you not have to twist? Do you just lift? and then it starts saying remove the motor mounting bracket. I don't know why you'd need to do that. Again, there's no header for what the aim of this little deconstruction is. It just kind of starts and it's there. So yeah, the whole thing's a bit devoid of logic. It doesn't really help, but it does at least suggest that those 3 screws should get the thing to pieces. So anyway, yeah, so as you can tell, I got pretty annoyed by that whole thing. It wasn't helpful and it was almost being deliberately unhelpful. So okay, let's get to the model. Now, if I had to describe the model in one word, that word would be unconventional. The model is unconventional in most senses. The motor, the mechanism, the way it's assembled, yeah, pretty unconventional. Now, in some areas, that being unconventional is quite positive, and I am quite impressed by some of the features. They certainly show promise. But a lot of the features on this seem to be unconventional just for the sake of being unconventional, for the sake of being different. And to me that makes a lot less sense, because obviously the conventions of model locomotives and things became conventions because they were developed over years and years, they proved themselves to work and they proved to be effective. Now, by going against those conventions, it's a little bit like sort of jumping off the shoulders of the giants, if you like, and going ahead and building your own giant. Yeah, it will work, but it's not something that's going to happen overnight, is it? Completely redesigning the conventions, if you like, the known conventions of a model locomotive. And I'm going to talk about some of those as we go later on, but I admit this is getting a little abstract. So let's take this thing to pieces. I'm not going to try and get the body off straight away. I'm going to show you underneath the model first of all. So if I just flip this around, what I'm going to do is what I always do first on these teardowns is to remove the base plate of the model. Now normally of course that exposes the axles and the pickups and things, and I'm not going to say anything right now. I'm going to demonstrate this and show you it and show you exactly what it actually does reveal. So if I remember correctly, I haven't done this since I first opened it up, it's this screw here, which has actually made things loose, and this screw here. Now unfortunately, if you take a look here, you can see that the brake rigging here is in the way of that screw. Generally I don't like that design too much. I prefer it when they find a way to make a screw completely accessible, but it does mean that you've got to, it's quite cringeworthy, you've got to lift up the brake rigging and then bend it back while you undo the screw. I don't like doing that because I like to think of the future. I like to think of doing this every year for, potentially 30 years that this model might last, and obviously some trying locos last longer than that. And I have to think, is that going to survive that being bent for 30 plus years or whatever? But obviously models are supposed to be disposable these days, it seems. Anyway, so that's now loose. If I just carefully lift that up, you can see something very unusual. So it looks to me like this model takes quite a bit of inspiration from the old Bachmann/mainline split chassis models. And as you can see, quite visibly, there are no pickups of any kind. And what I believe happens here is you've got two, they're sort of picking up through the axles and through the bearings, I believe. So just like the split chassis models, it looks like the wheels here are separated by a section of plastic, which incidentally has the gear on it. And of course that isolates them. And then the two bits of axle that are made of metal touch these bearings, and the bearings actually pick up the power, just like they did on the split chassis models. Now this is a clear development of the split chassis design, because as you can see, the bearings, if you like, for want of a better term, completely encase the axle. They completely hug the axle, which means that they act more of a bearing rather than just sitting straight into the chassis without any proper bearings. Now that's good in one way because it's going to improve wear and tear, but it does mean that you can't just lift out the wheel set. You're not going to be able to grab the wheel set and lift it out, and just looking at this, there's no real way you're going to be able to do that. And obviously the reason you'd want to is for cleaning purposes. I'm thinking not 1 or 2 years down the line, but 5 or 10, you're going to want to take those out and clean them, and there's no easy way to do that. So if I was designing this, bear in mind I know nothing about this sort of thing, I would have sort of a bottom part of those bearings and a top part which is screwed on, and you would unscrew the top part and lift it off, and then you would be able to lift out the axles. But that's not the case with this. I understand that would be quite complicated to achieve, but that's the way I would have done it. But yeah, quite interesting nonetheless. And as you can see, yes, there is a gear, if we take a look here, on every axle, which means that it's all-wheel drive. Again, quite an unnecessary feature in my opinion. I don't really, well, as I said, if you want to look at the review, look at the review. But basically, as I said in the review, I don't really see the advantage to that. Okay, so I need to remember which way this went on. It went on this way, I believe. And you've got to be careful because these sanding pipes here do get caught. But if I turn this around again, I'll try and get this back on. And if you like, I'll cut this bit out if it takes too long. Okay, I think that's back on. Just double check. Yep, that looks good to me. Okay, so let's try then what I looked up online, and this is the part that I've never actually successfully done before. So I'm going to do my best now to remove the actual body. Just bear with me while I return these screws to their places. And hopefully if this works, it'll mean we can see the motor, we can take a look at the famous coreless motor which is inside here, and we'll see how it all works. Now, I will show you a few other things that I've experimented with in stripping down of this model, but first of all we'll do what the instructions show, because that makes the most sense. So I'll start off then by undoing the 2 screws that were mentioned on those instructions I found, and if I show you on this camera you can just about see them there, one there, either side of the cab, and presumably those hold the cab. So let me undo that one, that's one. Yep, they are magnetic screws, so at least they've got that going for them. I will say that the actual quality of the mechanism is second to none. This is solid as a rock, don't get me wrong. It's just the design itself that I'm not too keen on, let's say. And then of course there was the 1 screw in the top of the chimney there. Alright, that's just fine. So obviously we had 2 different versions of the same instruction. One said to twist the cab or something like that, so we'll try that, and the other one said to just lift the cab and boiler. So let's try lifting the cab and boiler first. So obviously you don't want to be putting too much pressure on these, but I'm going to try my best just to lift this up. And it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly that just lifting this is not going to work. If I get my fingernails underneath here and pull up on the boiler, you can see that it does release, but I don't want to be putting any more pressure on it than that. And this is the thing, before when I was trying to take this to bits, I found that I was really giving it everything I've got in terms of pressure, and you never ever want to be putting that kind of pressure on a model, do you? I mean, you really don't. So let's just try lifting up the cab. Again, without breaking it, that's difficult. So it becomes pretty clear pretty quickly that just lifting is not going to do it. So let's try twisting then. And again, I feel like I'm putting too much pressure on this thing. So I've twisted it. I'm sure you've got to twist it left and right. But again, I don't know how you get a good purchase on it. See, I'm just putting too much pressure on this now, and I feel like I'm going to break it, which is basically the conclusion I came to last time. Let me try it from the other side. You see, I'm not going to keep doing that, because it is sort of bowing under my fingers here. So, like I say, I didn't manage to get that off. I don't know if I'm doing it wrong. Do I twist it back? Do I twist it forwards? I can't get it off. You see, that's the problem. I'm sure if I gave it all of my strength, I would get it off, but I'm not convinced that the whole thing wouldn't break into pieces. So, yeah, it's the same as before. It's just really, really difficult to get access. And if I show you down there, you could just about see the DCC socket in there. I don't know if that's going to be in focus. But there's certainly no way to access the motor. So to me that is not very serviceable. Now these motors I don't believe are supposed to be serviced. They're not, they're not in need of oiling regularly, but certainly it's nice to have the choice. For example, if in 10 years down the line you need to access the whole gear train to service it and that sort of thing, if that ever becomes true, you want access to the motor. And equally, if you make a mistake, I mean, we're all human, it does happen, and you burn the motor out, or in fact if the motor goes faulty, which it might, maybe not in a year, maybe not in 2, but as I was saying earlier, in 10 years for example, if the motor's gone faulty or if you burn it out, whatever, it's nice to have easy access to it. And I'm not saying there isn't access, because I've seen on those instructions that it is accessible, but it's not easy to do it, and certainly I'm not confident in really giving this thing a lot of force, because you never ever want to be putting that kind of force on a model. And it just doesn't feel good, and I don't want to snap the thing in half. So another thing that I was thinking of is, let's just try and lift the chassis out of the body as you would on a normal loco, because in fact last time if I remember correctly, there are screws underneath the couplings. So rather than the couplings just being sort of slotted into the chassis, they are screwed in, which is okay, but again it's a bit fussy, isn't it? I prefer the chassis just to have a slot and you put it in. So you have to remove the coupling like that, and then there's another piece which comes out too. Not strictly necessary to remove that one, I don't think, but I'm going to, just so I don't lose it when I try and pull the thing out. And then same with the one at the back. This one has got the coupling fitted. It's got the larger Hornby decoupling fitted. I did that just to be awkward. Okay, there we go. And as you can see, yes, it has revealed a couple of screws here. So I'm going to undo those and see if the chassis comes loose. And this is potentially the most frustrating part about the whole business. Because as you're going to see, it does come loose and you can almost pull it out. But again, I don't think it's supposed to be pulled out that way, and so I'm not going to be putting a lot of pressure onto it. So those screws are now out, and if I grab the chassis, for want of a better term, as you can see there, it is definitely loose. But at the back, it still seems to be held in. I'm just going to loosen those cab screws again, just to see if they're doing anything. I don't think so, but I'll double check. But as you can see, no joy there. Let me just double check this. No, not like that. So it is kind of loose, but not 100%. So I'm not going to, again, I don't want to keep tugging at that because it's clearly not designed to come out like that. So again, bemusing really. It's just, it seems like it's almost serviceable, it's almost there, but it's just not designed to take to pieces, which I really think it ought to be. So unfortunately, I can't show you the guts of the J94. Really, the only interesting view I got for you was the axles. And if anyone else has got one of these and they've managed to take it apart and that they could give me any tips on actually how you get this thing to pieces, then please let me know, because I would be interested. But as it stands, basically I'm sure I could do it, but I'm not sure that I could do it without damaging the thing. So, you know, it's a relatively expensive model. I don't want to wreck the thing, but certainly if the motor ever fails, which based on the way it runs is a possibility, you know, I really don't like the way these perform particularly. If that ever happens, then I will sort of treat it as a disposable model, and I will, you know, rip into it and see how it's supposed to come apart. But until then, I don't want to be manhandling this thing, because I don't want to wreck it. Okay, put the final two screws back in then. There we go. So yeah, hopefully that's demonstrated how frustrating this is. Yeah, why is this not completely serviceable? The vast majority of the models in my collection have one screw, maybe sometimes two. You undo that screw and very easily the body slides out and you get full access to the decoder socket, you get full access to the motor, all of the gears, everything like that. Instead with this one, you've either got to put an incredible amount of force onto it or manipulate it in some way that is obviously way above my level of understanding. And the only real video that we've got from the manufacturer is one that shows you how to do this. There, back in. If only the rest of it was so simple. Anyway, that's the end of this teardown. If you liked the video, please let me know in the comments, and of course if you've got any tips on how this thing actually comes apart, because those instructions I found were absolutely no use, do let me know. But for now, that's all I've got to say for this teardown. Again, if there's any other locos you'd like me to tear down, then do let me know. I do have a plan to tear down the Daylight Pacific, the huge American loco. That should be pretty exciting. But until then, thank you for watching, and I will see you all very soon. Cheers everybody.